A golden city glimmers in the heat. A carpet floats above rooftops, dodging guards and laughter. Below, sandstone streets buzz with music, mischief, and the scent of cardamom and roasted almonds. Agrabah, the crown jewel of a land that never was. A place of daring thieves, stubborn princesses, and magic sealed in lamps. You know this world. You've been here before. You remember the boy with nothing, the so-called diamond in the rough, running barefoot through the marketplace, stealing bread to survive. You remember the monkey, the cave, the wishes, the genie who danced and joked and shape-shifted into 100 voices, always smiling, always kind. You remember the lessons too, that it's what's inside that counts, that love is stronger than lies, that true freedom is earned. It's beautiful, isn't it? This world of flying carpets and starlit palaces, of sultans and sand dunes and wide-eyed dreamers chasing something bigger than themselves. It's comforting, and that's exactly what makes it so dangerous, because the story you remember, the one the world came to love, is a mirror, polished, simplified, rewritten, and behind that mirror, something waits, something older, stranger, far less kind. Not every fairy tale was meant for children, and this one didn't begin in the sands of Arabia. It began in a forgotten city in ancient China. But that story, the one you just remembered, it isn't true, not entirely. It's a reflection, a softened echo, a tale reshaped by time and by the hands of those who needed it to fit a certain mold. There was a boy, there was a lamp, there was a genie, but almost everything else is a comforting fiction. The hero wasn't a clever street rat. He was a spoiled boy, idle and soft, living at home with his mother. The villain wasn't a royal advisor with a twisted staff and glowing eyes. He was a magician from across the sea, darker, older, and far more cruel. And the genie, there wasn't just one, there were two, one hidden in a ring, one imprisoned in a lamp, and the wishes they granted came with consequences. But even that isn't the most surprising part. Because the tale of Aladdin, the one we trace back to the sands of Arabia, to bazaars and sultans and flying carpets, doesn't begin there at all. Not in the Middle East, not in a desert. It begins, Holmes, in China. Not the China we know today, but an imagined one, a hybrid of legend and confusion, a land of silk and shadow, where East blurred into West and stories migrated without passports. That's where this began. According to the oldest surviving version we have, the story of Aladdin is Chinese, and it was never written into 1001 Nights. It was added much, much later, by a man who heard it whispered in a foreign tongue and claimed it as his own. So what is the truth? Who was Aladdin, really? And how did his story travel so far, only to be rewritten, repackaged, and sold back to us as myth? That's what we're here to uncover. Let's begin. Stories change. They bend to the will of kings, conquerors, and corporations. They're smoothed over, repainted, and bound in gold, until one day we forget where they started and start to believe the version that sells. Aladdin is one of those stories, a tale passed from mouth to manuscript, stitched together by memory, migration, and myth. A story with no single home, only travelers who carried it. Tonight, we're going to follow that story. Not the polished fantasy, but the one buried beneath it. We'll trace its path from a French scholar's study to a Syrian storyteller's voice, to a forgotten Chinese city wrapped in silk and smoke, to a boy who never wanted to be a hero, a boy who stumbled into impossible power and learned just how far he'd have to go to keep it. This is not the story you were told, but it may be the one that was meant to survive. Welcome to While History Sleeps. This is the dark history of Aladdin. If you value forgotten truths, lost tales, and the quiet unraveling of legend, consider leaving a light on for the algorithm. It helps this archive stay open. Now, let's begin. This is the version the world remembers. A street rat, scrambling across rooftops, dodging guards, leaping over fruit stands, slipping through cracks in the system like water. His name is Aladdin. He has nothing. No wealth, no home, no family name. Only a monkey, a smile, and a hunger for something more. He survives in the shadows of a glittering kingdom, where status is everything, and mercy is rare, where the laws protect the powerful and the poor are expected to stay invisible. But Aladdin can't quite stay invisible. He's clever, fast, restless, too good-hearted to be cruel, too proud to be pitied. And though he sleeps on rooftops and eats what he can steal, he dreams like a prince. He dreams of being seen, not as a thief, not as a street rat, but as someone worthy of respect, of choice, of love. Above him, in the palace, someone else is dreaming too, the princess, Jasmine. She is beautiful, yes, but that is not her power. She is sharp, skeptical, and quietly furious. Furious at being a prize. Furious at being trapped in a life chosen for her by men who mistake control for protection. She walks through golden halls with clenched fists, longing for the freedom her subjects take for granted. She doesn't want a crown. She wants autonomy. And then there's the cave, hidden in the desert, guarded by a tiger's mouth, forged from sand and fire. The Cave of Wonders. Inside, a lamp, small, simple, ancient. Aladdin retrieves it, barely, by accident or destiny, and with it, he finds something no one could have imagined. A genie. Not a monster, not a demon, but a storm of color and noise. A being of impossible energy and irrepressible charm. A friend. The genie is a force of pure presence. He shifts shapes, tells jokes, bends the rules of physics with a wink. But behind the smiles, he is a prisoner, bound to the lamp, bound to serve, bound to grant the wishes of others while never being granted one of his own. And yet, he laughs, he helps, he hopes. 3 wishes. That's the deal. And Aladdin, frightened and dazzled, makes the most human wish of all. To be more than he is. He becomes a prince, not in name, but in illusion. A parade, an elephant, a fabricated lineage, and a practiced smile. He uses the mask to win Jasmine's heart, and it almost works. But she sees something beneath it, because she too knows what it means to play a part. The lie grows heavier, and just outside their reach, another force waits. Jafar, a vizier, a man who serves power but hungers for it more. He watches, manipulates, whispers in the Sultan's ear. Where Aladdin steals bread, Jafar steals minds. Where Aladdin lies to be loved, Jafar lies to conquer. He is everything Aladdin could become if he stopped caring. And for a moment, he wins. He takes the lamp, takes the genie, takes the throne, and Aladdin loses everything. But here is where the story turns. Not with violence, not with revenge, but with truth. Aladdin lets go of the illusion. He tells Jasmine who he really is. Not a prince, not a legend, just a boy, just Aladdin. And in doing so, he becomes something greater. He chooses to use his final wish, not for himself, but for the genie. He sets him free. And in that moment, a street rat becomes something rare, not because he won the girl, not because he fooled a kingdom, but because he let go of power when he didn't have to. And somehow, impossibly, the story ends with love. The Sultan changes the law. Jasmine chooses her own future. The genie flies into the sky, untethered at last. And Aladdin? He's no longer pretending. He has nothing left to hide. It's the perfect ending, a fairy tale shaped like a lesson. That being true to yourself is enough. That love requires honesty. That power means nothing if it comes at the cost of freedom. This is the Aladdin we remember. Bright, hopeful, triumphant. A story with sharp lines and soft landings, where every lie is forgiven and every dream is rewarded. The story we carry with us, because it told us who we could be if we just believed hard enough. But it was only ever one version, a beautiful mirror, and mirrors, as we know, can crack. The genius of Disney's Aladdin isn't just in its spectacle, it's in its clarity. Every character is built like a symbol, every choice carries a lesson, and every conflict is stitched to a moral. Aladdin is more than a clever thief. He's a test of worth, of character. He lies, but only to survive. He deceives, but only to be loved. And when it matters most, he tells the truth. In the world Disney built, the lie isn't the danger. The danger is forgetting who you are beneath it. Aladdin's journey isn't about defeating a villain. It's about unmasking himself. Because at its core, Aladdin is a story about identity, what we pretend to be, what we're told we are, and what happens when we strip all of that away. The film whispers a simple truth to its viewers: you are enough. Even if you're poor, even if you're scared, even if you don't know your place in the world, you are enough, as long as you're honest. And Jasmine is a mirror of that message. She's not waiting for rescue. She's waiting to be heard. She resists the palace, the politics, the marriage decree. She refuses to be bought, even by charm. What she wants, what she demands, is autonomy. The power to choose her own future, her own love, her own voice. She is Disney's answer to a long tradition of passive princesses, and her rebellion becomes the emotional engine of the story. Together, Jasmine and Aladdin form a kind of resistance against tradition, against deception, against the idea that people belong in cages, whether they're made of gold or brick. Even the palace feels symbolic, a place where everyone appears free, but nearly everyone is bound by law, by expectation, by history. And then there's the genie, the heart of the story, its soul. He is light, humor, magic, a performer, a protector, a cosmic jester with the voice of 1,000 impressions. But beneath the jokes, there's a wound, a loneliness, a deep, aching need to be free. He has all the power in the world, but no choice. He serves endlessly until someone chooses to release him. And when Aladdin finally does, not out of strategy but out of compassion, the story earns its final truth. That love without freedom is a prison, that real friendship doesn't demand control, and that sometimes the greatest power is letting go. Even Jafar is simple, a clean villain, hungry, manipulative, transparent in his ambition. He doesn't pretend to be good. He wants the lamp, the throne, the world. He's not complex, because he doesn't need to be. In a story this bright, the shadows are obvious. It's good versus evil, truth versus illusion, love versus fear. And in the end, the right side wins. Because this is how fairy tales work, at least the kind we grow up with. They teach us what to value, what to chase, what to believe in. Disney's Aladdin teaches that honesty leads to love, that kindness is rewarded, that the oppressed can rise and the powerful can fall, with just a little magic. It's comforting because it makes the world feel fair, predictable, earned, safe. But real legends don't always work that way. They aren't bound by clean morals or clear victories. They're messy, contradictory, often cruel. In legends, good people lie, villains win. Power changes hands not because it was deserved, but because someone was bold enough to take it. And the original Aladdin, it isn't a story about being true to yourself. It's a story about what you do once you've been handed something no one else should have. Not love, not truth, power. Aladdin is one of the most famous stories in the world, but for most of its history, it didn't exist. Not in any written form, not in any official manuscript, not in 1001 Nights, the book it's most closely associated with. In the oldest surviving Arabic versions of that text, Aladdin is nowhere to be found. There is no magic carpet, no cave of wonders, no genie in a lamp. And yet, it appears. Suddenly, fully formed, a tale of sorcery, treasure, and transformation, added not in Baghdad, or Cairo, or Damascus, but in Paris. The year was 1709. The man was Antoine Galland, a French Orientalist, translator, and collector of exotic stories from the East. He was working on a French translation of Les Mille et Une Nuits, The 1001 Nights, a book that had already become a cultural bridge between Europe and the so-called Orient. But Galland wasn't simply translating. He was curating, choosing, rearranging, smoothing out inconsistencies, making a medieval Arabic collection palatable for a French-speaking audience at the height of colonial fascination. He wanted tales of wonder, tales that evoked strange lands, noble savages, magical creatures, and mysterious treasures. He wanted the East, but softened, stylized, and safe. And then, something unexpected happened. Galland met a traveler, a young Maronite Christian from Aleppo named Hannah Diab. He wasn't a scholar, not a scribe, not a merchant or philosopher. He was a storyteller, born into a complex, shifting world, a Syrian Christian under Ottoman rule, fluent in Arabic, French, and Italian, educated in Jesuit schools, traveling through Europe during the rise of Enlightenment thought. And when he spoke, Galland listened. In a diary entry dated May 1709, Galland wrote that Diab had recited several unfamiliar stories to him. One of them was called Aladdin. It had no precedent, no written origin, no record in Arabic, but it had everything Galland was looking for: adventure, mystery, transformation, and magic. Galland transcribed the story in French. He polished it, restructured it, rewrote entire passages to match European narrative expectations. And without announcement, he quietly inserted it into his ongoing translation of the Nights. No explanation, no source, no credit. One moment, it wasn't there, and the next, it was. A tale that became a legend. Never written in Arabic, never attributed to its speaker. Just a voice, swallowed by the page. And for centuries, that voice was lost. For a long time, scholars assumed Aladdin was simply part of the Nights all along. They assumed it was old, medieval, maybe older. They assumed it was authentic. But it wasn't until much later that researchers began to notice something strange. There were no Arabic manuscripts, no early references, no trail leading back before Galland. Aladdin, it seemed, had appeared out of thin air, a tale without a past, a myth with no fingerprints, just ink and silence. But behind that silence was a man, and in recent years his story has started to resurface. Hannah Diab. For centuries, he was a footnote, a name in Gallen's journal. But then his memoirs were discovered, handwritten, preserved by chance, published long after his death. And in those pages, Diab reveals something astonishing. He wasn't just repeating old tales, he was inventing them. Drawing on memories from his travels, the bazaars of Aleppo, the palaces of Versailles, the cathedrals and courts of Italy and France. Weaving together East and West, fact and fantasy, desire and displacement. His stories weren't relics. They were responses to the world he moved through, to the power he saw and lacked, to the dreams he carried. And among them was Aladdin, a boy, like him, with no wealth, no name, no safety, but with a secret, a lamp, a way out, a way up. If that's true, and many scholars now believe it is, then Aladdin wasn't a fable passed down from generation to generation. It wasn't oral tradition. It wasn't folklore. It was a singular creation, born of exile, birthed in translation. The story of a boy who finds power he didn't earn and must learn to survive it. And Galland, he took it, not cruelly, not maliciously, but with the authority of empire, with the confidence of someone who believed that if it wasn't written down by him, it didn't exist. So Galland published the story, in his name, under the banner of the Knights. And from that moment on, the story stopped belonging to Diab. It became global, translated into German, Italian, Spanish, English, reimagined by playwrights, poets, and painters, transformed again by Hollywood, by Disney, by us. And Diab, he disappeared. A man erased by the very tale he gave away. It's a pattern that repeats across history. Stories told by the colonized, claimed by the colonizers, names removed, origins blurred, myths flattened into marketable legends. Aladdin became part of the canon, but its author remained in the footnotes. And even now, when the tale is performed in pantomime, retold in picture books, or sung on Broadway stages, few ever say his name. Hannah Diab, a young man with no credentials, no publishing house, no title, just a voice, telling a story that would outlive him, outgrow him, and forget him, but not completely, because now, centuries later, we can trace the thread back. We can follow it through the palimpsests and translations, through the erasures and adaptations, through the magic and the marketing. Back to a room in Paris, back to a boy in Aleppo, back to a storyteller whose name still flickers in the footnotes, but whose creation reshaped the world. And once you see it, once you hear it, the tale changes. It becomes heavier, stranger, more real, because it was never just a fairy tale. It was a life, a longing, a legend built on the edge of erasure. And the story, the one we all know, has only just begun. The story does not begin in Agrabah. There is no desert, no Arabic calligraphy, no golden minarets piercing the sky. The original tale of Aladdin begins in a city far to the east, in a version of China that never quite existed. It's not the China of emperors or dynasties, not the warring kingdoms or the Great Wall or Confucian courts. It's something else entirely, a strange, imagined land, filtered through Arab storytelling, echoed in French translation, stitched together from rumor, hearsay, and fantasy. A China seen from a distance, painted in the imagination of men who had never set foot on its soil. And yet, in this fictional China, the world is filled with familiar shapes. There are mosques, minarets, covered markets, veiled women, sultans, and servants. The East imagined as a blur, where anything unfamiliar could coexist, and no one asked too many questions. This is where the tale begins, not with a prince, not even with a thief, but with a boy named Aladdin. He isn't clever, he isn't brave, he isn't poor, but he isn't particularly useful either. He lives with his mother in a modest home. His father, once a tailor, is dead. His mother scrapes by with dignity, doing what she can to survive. And Aladdin doesn't help. He is idle, distracted. He wastes time with other boys in the streets, chasing entertainment, ignoring responsibility. He isn't heroic. He isn't noble. He isn't suffering under injustice. He simply avoids effort. In the Disney version, Aladdin is poor but principled, a thief with a moral code. But here, in the original tale, he is a lesson. Not in courage, but in wasted potential. And then, one day, a stranger arrives. A man dressed in fine clothes, wearing rings of silver and gold, with a beard too neat, a smile too perfect, and eyes that never stop watching. He claims to be Aladdin's uncle, a long-lost relative, a brother to the dead father, gone for many years, returned only now. He brings gifts, fruit, coins, silk. He flatters Aladdin's mother, speaks kindly, weeps when he speaks of the father he claims to mourn. He asks nothing, at first. He says only that he wants to help. He says the boy has potential, that with the right education, the right trade, he could become something great. And so he buys Aladdin fine clothes, takes him walking, shows him the city from above, and beyond it, the horizon. But this man is not who he says he is. He is not family. He is not kind. He is a magician, a sorcerer from the Maghreb, a region in North Africa, then as now, known for its mystics and hidden arts. He is powerful, skilled in spells, rituals, and the old sciences. And he has traveled a great distance for a single purpose. He is looking for something buried beneath the earth, a relic, ancient and enchanted, a lamp. But the cave where it lies is protected. Its spells will not allow just anyone to enter, only someone pure of spirit, unmarked by magic, young and unknowing, someone like Aladdin. And so, the magician plays the part. He watches, waits, builds trust like a careful architect, and when the time is right, he leads Aladdin beyond the city walls, into the wilderness, into silence. They walk until there is nothing but sand, wind, and stone. There, the magician stops. He draws a circle in the earth, marks it with strange symbols, speaks words no one else would understand. The ground rumbles, the wind stills, and the earth splits open. A stairwell appears, narrow, steep, spiraling downward into the dark. He turns to Aladdin, and he says, "There is treasure below, but I want only one thing, the lamp." He gives the boy a ring, says it will protect him, and then he waits. Aladdin descends, into shadow, into heat, into silence. The cave is not empty. It is filled with gold, with ornaments, with fruit that glows with unnatural light, with rooms lined with embroidered tapestries, treasures beyond anything Aladdin has ever seen. And at the very back, resting on a pedestal, a simple, dull, metal lamp. He picks it up, and in that moment, he hesitates. He remembers the magician's warning, to take only the lamp, but the treasures shine too brightly. He fills his pockets, takes a few coins, touches the enchanted fruit, lingers a little too long, and when he returns to the mouth of the cave, the magician is waiting. He reaches for the lamp, but Aladdin, suspicious now, hides it. He lies, refuses to hand it over, And in an instant, the man's face changes. The smile vanishes. The kindness dissolves. The eyes burn cold. With a single word, the magician seals the cave shut. The stone grinds. The passage collapses. The light disappears. And Aladdin is left in total darkness, buried alive. No food, no torch, no voice, only the lamp in his hand and the ring on his finger. Hours pass, maybe more. Eventually, with nothing left to lose, he rubs the ring, and something answers. A shape, a presence, a figure, neither fully man nor fully smoke. The genie of the ring. Not the genie from Disney, not a friend, not a comedian, not a trickster with a kind heart. This is something older, bound, tired, obedient. It does not ask questions. It only waits for orders. Aladdin whispers, "Take me home." And just like that, he is lifted through stone, through soil, through spell work, through silence. He wakes in his mother's home. The same dusty corner, the same woven mat, as if nothing happened at all. But something has changed. The lamp is still in his hand, its surface cool and unremarkable. He does not yet know what's inside. What force has been sealed within for centuries? What power has just fallen into his hands? But he will, very soon. This is where the real story begins. Not in a palace, not with a kiss, not with a wish, but in a lie. A magician's deception, a boy's defiance, a sealed cave and a buried hunger, a lamp still waiting to be touched. And when it is, the world will shift. There is something strange about the lamp. It is not beautiful. It is not golden. It is not jewel-encrusted. It is small, heavy, dull. Its metal is worn smooth from age. Not polished, but softened, like riverstone. Its design is plain, its surface cool. There is nothing to suggest that anything lives inside it. And yet, something does. Aladdin, still shaken from the cave, says nothing at first. He hides the lamp. He tries to return to his old life. But the memories cling to him. The silence of the cave, the rage in the magician's eyes, the voice that rose from the ring. Eventually, curiosity outweighs fear. He brings the lamp out, examines it, and begins to clean the soot from its surface. He rubs it once, and the world trembles. There is no burst of jazz, no trumpet, no jokes. There is only shadow, a pressure in the air like a coming storm, a hum behind the walls like something vibrating just beneath the veil of reality, and then smoke, thick, coiling, unnatural smoke, pouring from the lamp's spout. It spills into the room like ink dropped in water. It moves with intent, and from it, a shape emerges. Not quite man, not quite monster, a thing with no fixed form, towering, elemental, unmistakably powerful. The genie of the lamp, far stronger than the one Aladdin met in the cave, not playful, not patient, a servant only because it must be, bound by ancient magic to obey the bearer of the lamp, but not kindly, not gently. This genie is not a friend, it is a force. Aladdin stumbles backward. His mother screams, but the genie does not lash out. It asks, in a voice that sounds like stone cracking, "What is your will?" Not "may I help you," not "hello," just one question, a command waiting to happen. And so Aladdin begins to test it. He asks for food. The genie delivers. Silver platters, steaming meats, dates, rice, sugared pastries, towers of fruit. Enough for a sultan. He asks for wealth. The genie conjures it. Coins, jewels, cloth, spun with gold thread. All of it perfect. All of it immediate. He asks for a house. The genie builds it, stone by stone, in a single night. His mother is overwhelmed. She begins to pray, to weep. She tells him to be careful, but Aladdin does not stop. He realizes something few characters in stories ever realize, that the lamp has no limits. It can give him anything, anything at all, and it will never say no. And there is no one to stop him. The magician is gone. The cave is sealed. The city suspects nothing. He begins to live differently. He walks with confidence. He eats better, dresses better. People notice. And eventually, so does the Sultan. In this version of the tale, the Sultan is not a fool. He is wise, cautious, protective of his daughter. Her name is not Jasmine. It is Badrulbadur, a name that means full moon of full moons. She is renowned for her beauty, her poise, her intelligence, and she is already promised to someone else. But Aladdin has other plans. He has seen her from a distance. He is struck. He decides he must marry her, not for love, not because they share a connection, not because she chooses him, but because he wants her. He tells his mother to go to the palace. He sends her with gifts, not just a dowry, but a display of unimaginable wealth. Dozens of slaves dressed in fine silks, camels draped in brocade, trays of jewels, emeralds the size of eggs, gold coins in woven baskets, all conjured by the genie. The Sultan is stunned. No suitor has ever offered such treasure. He is skeptical, but curious. He agrees. The wedding is set. But there is one problem. Badrulbadur is already married. Just days before, she had been given, reluctantly, to the son of the Sultan's most trusted vizier. It was political, expected, unwanted, but official. Aladdin, enraged, turns again to the lamp. He makes a demand, not for wealth, not for honor, but for removal. On the wedding night, as the new couple prepares to lie down together, the genie appears in the dark. He takes the groom, transports him to the wilderness, leaves him confused and terrified in a cold, empty cave. And Aladdin takes his place. The next morning, the groom is returned, shaken, humiliated, dismissed. No one believes him. The marriage is annulled, and Aladdin becomes a prince. He marries Badrulbadur, and with the genie's help, he builds a palace to rival the Sultan's own. It appears overnight, columns of marble, walls of jade, domes of sapphire, fountains that sing. A miracle resting across from the royal court. The people are awed. The Sultan is speechless. Badrulbadur adapts. She is kind, loyal, confused, but accepting. And for a time, the story seems to settle. Aladdin has won. The magician is gone. The city respects him. The Sultan favors him. But beneath it all, something is beginning to shift, because power, once taken, must always be defended. And the lamp, no matter how carefully hidden, calls to those who know its voice. Far away, in the Maghreb, the magician hears whispers. He realizes what happened, and he begins his journey back. This is the midpoint, where the story pivots from wish fulfillment to consequence, from triumph to threat. It is no longer about gaining power, it's about keeping it. Aladdin has 2 genies, 2 weapons, and now he has something to lose. Aladdin is no longer a boy. He dresses in silks. He walks with guards. He speaks with confidence. He is not noble by birth, but he has become noble in everything but name. And everyone believes it, because the world he now lives in, like many worlds, does not measure truth by character. It measures truth by spectacle, and Aladdin's spectacle is unmatched. The genie grants. The people obey. The city watches in awe as his palace rises from nothing, its walls made from materials that shouldn't exist together, sapphire floors, golden staircases, silver doors that open without a touch. The fountains run with rosewater. The lanterns glow without flame. Music plays with no musicians. And everything is perfect, but nothing is real. It's all conjured, fabricated, earned not through effort or skill, but command. And for a time, this is enough. Aladdin is celebrated. The people whisper his name. The Sultan grows to trust him. He becomes the most eligible man in the kingdom, and not because of lineage, but because of mystery. No one knows where he came from. No one knows how he rose so fast. And that silence, that void, becomes its own kind of power. He is married to the princess now, not Jasmine, but Badrul Badur, the full moon of full moons. She is elegant, composed. She does not speak often, but when she does, people listen. In public, she is poised. In private, she is watchful. She did not choose this life, but she lives it with grace, with patience, with the quiet strength of someone who knows how easily men underestimate women. She does not yet know the truth about the lamp, the genie, the forced wedding night, and Aladdin does not tell her. Perhaps he's ashamed. Perhaps he believes the story has changed. Or perhaps he simply doesn't think it matters anymore. After all, the world has moved on, and in his mind, he has earned this. He continues to use the lamp, though more carefully now. He keeps it locked away. In a private chamber beneath the palace, he visits it alone, only at night, only in silence. He whispers his wishes now, not because he's afraid, but because he enjoys the secrecy. The illusion is complete. He has wealth, status, respect, a wife, a palace, the Sultan's ear. He attends meetings, listens to petitions, gives coins to the poor, coins the genie placed in his palm that very morning. He builds roads, founds schools, donates to temples and mosques. He is admired. Children are named after him. And in the quiet, dangerous corners of the city, men begin to wonder if perhaps Aladdin is favored by God. But power whispers. It doesn't shout. And the longer he holds it, the more it distorts the mirror. He begins to believe the stories people tell about him, that he is brilliant, that he is generous, that he deserves this life. And perhaps he does, but he did not build it. He took it, piece by piece, wish by wish. There is no crime here, only convenience. And yet, deep down, a part of him knows that the lamp is not a gift. It is a leash. He cannot live without it. He will not let it go. And that is not freedom. That is dependence. In the shadows of the palace, Badrul Badur begins to notice, not the magic, not yet, but the pattern, how her husband retreats when troubled, how he speaks as though things will simply appear, how his eyes flicker when someone mentions cost, or time, or consequence. She is not suspicious, not yet, but she is curious, and she is watching. Far away, across deserts and mountains, the magician returns home. He enters the house where his scrolls are kept. He lays out maps, charts the stars again, and sees the truth. The lamp is gone. The boy is alive. The palace is not of this world. His shame burns hotter than any anger, because he did not lose to a rival. He lost to a child, a lazy boy, a fool, an accident, and worse, he gave him everything. The ring, the path, the instructions. He opened the door, and the boy walked through it. Now, the magician wants only one thing. Not the lamp, not the genie, not the treasure. Revenge. He begins to prepare, consults spirits, burns incense, laced with ash and memory, speaks to the dead. He asks them where the lamp is. They show him. Not a location, but a man, a city, a woman in a white veil, standing in a window framed by gold. He knows now, and he smiles, because the boy thinks he's safe. He thinks the story is over, but the lamp was never his. The magician returns to the city in disguise. He dresses as a merchant, an old man, harmless, forgettable. He walks the streets, listens to gossip, follows servants, and eventually he hears of a strange lamp kept somewhere in the palace. No one has seen it, but everyone has heard of it. A rumor like smoke, and he knows. He begins his plan. He takes a bag of ordinary lamps, shiny, clean, useless, and he walks through the streets calling out, "New lamps for old." The people laugh. Children follow him. No one believes he means it, but the words are heard. And somewhere in the palace, Badrulbadur hears them too. She remembers the old, dusty lamp her husband keeps hidden away. She's never understood why. Perhaps it's sentimental. Perhaps he would appreciate it being replaced. She sends a servant. No questions, no suspicions, just a gesture. And just like that, the magician holds it again. After all these years, he doesn't gloat, he doesn't dance. He rubs it once, and the smoke returns. The genie rises, and this time, it bows to him. That night, the magician waits until the city sleeps, and then he speaks a single wish. Move the palace. And it vanishes. The sky is still, the winds quiet, and in the space where stone once stood, only sand remains. The Sultan wakes to confusion, to panic, to silence. The people gather in the streets. They pray, they shout, they accuse. But Aladdin is already gone. The palace, his wife, the lamp, everything has been taken. He searches in vain. He opens the hidden chamber. The lamp is gone. He calls for his guards. They are powerless. He runs to the Sultan, who stares at him with a father's fury. The deal is broken. The princess is gone, and with her, the only thing that mattered. Aladdin begs for time. The Sultan grants him 40 days. And after that, if Badrulbadur is not returned, he will be executed. Aladdin leaves the city alone, not in armor, not with soldiers, not on a stallion, just a cloak, a memory, and the ring. The same ring the magician once gave him, the one he forgot. Now, it's all he has. He rubs it, and from the silence, a voice returns, quieter, older, bound. The genie of the ring, lesser than the lamp, but still loyal. And Aladdin speaks a single command. Take me to her. This is the turning point, where a prince becomes a wanderer, where the palace becomes a prison, where the boy who conquered everything must learn what it means to lose.
Aladdin flies west, not on a stallion, not in an army's march, not as a prince returned to claim his bride, but on wind, on silence, on fear. He is carried through the skies by the genie of the ring, a spirit whose power feels smaller now, a flicker next to the flame of the lamp, but still a light in the dark. The journey is long, The sky shifts from violet to grey to black. The stars blink like distant witnesses, uninterested in what one man hopes to reclaim. And below him, the world unrolls like a forgotten scroll. Cities, rivers, deserts, borders, all indifferent. But Aladdin is not watching the world. He is searching for one thing: a palace that does not belong here, a structure born from wish and flame, and now stolen. And just before dawn, he sees it. Nestled between two ancient mountains, half swallowed by the red sands of the Maghrib, stands the palace, his palace, the one he built with whispers, the one the genie conjured in a single breath. But here, in this strange land, it looks different, out of place, or perhaps too perfect. The marble gleams unnaturally. The domes reflect a moon that should not shine this bright, and around it, torches flicker in quiet threat. This is no longer a wonder. It is a warning. The magician has made it his. Aladdin does not land with fury. He does not charge the gates. He kneels in the sand, a silent figure cloaked in dust. He watches, waits, counts the guards, listens to the rhythm of the changing watch, measures the shadows. The palace hums with unnatural order. Servants move like clockwork. The air feels heavier, and in a window high above, framed by golden lattice, he sees her, Badrul Badur, his wife, the full moon of full moons. But she does not look back. She does not know he is there. She stares into the horizon, not searching, not hoping, just enduring. She has not been beaten. She has not been chained, but she has been stolen. And for a woman like her, that is worse. Inside the palace, the magician does not pace. He does not mutter curses. He does not fear Aladdin's return, because in his mind, the game is already over. He holds the lamp. The genie obeys him. The palace answers his will. And Aladdin is a name fading in the wind. Just a boy with dust on his shoes, a tail between his legs, and a kingdom lost. But the magician is wrong, because Aladdin still has the ring. A lesser relic, yes, but not without teeth. That night, beneath a moon that flickers like it's reconsidering its role in the sky, Aladdin moves. He does not ride a steed. He does not break down gates. He walks, quiet, shadow to shadow, memory to memory, because this is his palace. He built it. He shaped it. He knows the passages behind the fountains, the hinges that creak, the spot on the wall where the stone is just a little looser. And he uses that knowledge now. Every secret bought with a wish, now repurposed to take back what was stolen. He finds her near dawn, in her chambers, draped in silk, sitting in stillness. She hears him before she sees him, and when she turns, she does not scream. She does not run into his arms. She narrows her eyes. "You lied to me," she says. Aladdin wants to explain, to speak of desperation, of fate, of how none of this was supposed to happen. But there is no space for apology, because what was broken between them is not the palace, or the spell, or even the marriage. It is trust, and that cannot be conjured. Still, they have little time. The magician sleeps. The lamp lies in his chambers, and the guards are still unaware. Aladdin outlines a plan. He cannot kill the magician. The genie would know, would protect his master, would strike first. But Badrul Badur can. She has access. She has patience. And above all, she has motive. He does not order her. He asks. And she agrees, not out of love, not out of duty, but because she understands what the magician truly took. Not just a palace, not just a title. He took her will, her agency, her voice. And now she takes it back. That evening, she prepares the wine, a rare blend, fragrant, sweet, dusted with powdered silver and crushed plum, and within it, a poison from the old texts, silent, invisible, irreversible. She carries it to the magician's chamber with a smile. He welcomes her, invites her to sit, to speak of destiny, to listen to the stars. He believes he has broken her, molded her, tamed her. He does not see the fire behind her eyes. He does not notice the tremble in her wrist. And when he drinks, he sighs, a long, satisfied sigh. A moment later, he stops breathing. No cry, no drama, just stillness. A predator felled by the prey he dismissed. Aladdin enters moments later. He says nothing, just walks past the body, kneels by the lamp, and takes it in his hands. He holds it differently now, not as a miracle, not as a prize, but as a burden. And then he whispers, "Take us home." The sky splits, the palace rises, dust spirals, servants scream, the earth below cracks open as the stone foundation lifts into the clouds. And before the city below can understand what they've witnessed, it's gone, the magician's land left behind, erased, like a dream on waking. In Agrabah, the people wake to light. The palace has returned, perfect, untouched, but now heavier, as though it knows what it has seen. The Sultan falls to his knees. The people cheer. Badroulbadour stands at the balcony, unmoving, watching. And Aladdin, he doesn't speak, not for hours. He walks the halls, touches the walls. Everything is in its place, but nothing feels the same, because now he knows what the lamp can take, knows what it can't return. The Sultan throws a feast, musicians play, torches are lit, dancers spin like petals in the wind. But Aladdin doesn't eat, he doesn't drink, he just stares at the lamp and wonders, what kind of man would keep such a thing? In the days that follow, he tries to return to routine, meets with advisors, signs decrees, gives alms to the poor. But the people whisper differently now, not of a prince, not of a miracle, but of a man who vanished into the sky and returned with haunted eyes. And Badroulbadour, she does not leave the palace, not yet. She walks the gardens, feeds the birds, sits beneath the fig tree for hours. Sometimes she watches Aladdin, sometimes she doesn't. The lamp is placed in a hidden chamber again, not beneath the palace, but beneath the earth itself. Aladdin builds a tomb for it, stone and ash, sealed with iron, bound by silence. He does not destroy it, he cannot. But he does not use it again, not yet, because every wish he made still echoes, and every gift still costs. But across the sea, far beyond the dunes, someone else is listening. The magician had a brother, younger, hungrier, less theatrical, more patient. And when he learns of the death, he does not mourn, he prepares. Because in his eyes the story has not ended, it has just changed leads. A body rots in the Maghrib. The once great magician lies cold, his palace stolen back, his ambitions dissolved like salt in rain. But death is not silence, because somewhere in that scorched land, where whispers travel faster than footprints, the news finds an ear. His brother. No name survives for this man, not in Gallen's notes, not in later retellings. But those who spoke of him called him the Shadow,
Because he never conjured publicly, never begged for coins, never dazzled crowds. He studied, he stalked, he waited. While his older brother performed like a god, this one learned the rules, and how to break them quietly. He knew of the lamp, he knew of the ring, he knew the signs, the maps, the traps. But he let his brother go first. Let him test the spirits. Let him bleed. Because some treasures you steal with your hands. Others you inherit by letting someone else fail. When word reached him of his brother's death, he did not scream. He did not cry. He did not curse the skies. He smiled. Not because he hated his brother, but because now the path was clear. Aladdin had revealed the final location of the lamp, had used it too openly, had exposed his kingdom, and the younger magician was ready. But this time, there would be no grand entrance, no merchant's disguise, no fake familial claims. This time, he would not approach Aladdin. He would approach the palace, from within. He begins with the Fatima, a holy woman, a healer, known in the city as the Veiled One. She tends to the sick, feeds the poor, and never charges a coin. She is trusted, beloved. She is also alone. One evening, as she walks to her shrine, he follows, and she never arrives. What happens next is not magic. It is makeup. It is mimicry. It is the kind of sorcery no spellbook teaches, because it lives in shadows and mirrors. The brother wears her robes, adopts her walk, breaks his voice into whispers, and when he arrives at the palace gates, the guards bow. Because who would question the woman of God? He speaks little, blesses often, whispers tales of ill omens, of spirits in the walls, of curses in the foundation, of illness born of unburied bones. And Aladdin, still shaken, still haunted, still afraid of the lamp's echo, listens. He invites Fatima into the palace, asks her to stay, to walk the halls, to purify the air, and she does. She watches, she listens, and more importantly, she looks. The lamp is hidden, but not well enough. Every day she inches closer, and when she finds the room, she does not enter. She just stands near the wall, fingers brushing the stones, and smiles, because now she knows. And now, the real plan begins. That night, Fatima requests an audience with Badrul Badur. She claims to have had a vision, a premonition of danger, of betrayal, of sickness growing in the heart of the palace. The princess, still cautious, still unsure who to trust, agrees. And for a week, Fatima becomes her shadow, whispering prayers, placing herbs in the windows, telling tales of old spirits, and how even a genie can turn against its master. On the seventh night, Fatima offers a charm, not a weapon, not a threat, just a lamp, ordinary, copper, unmarked. She says it is a symbol, a way to draw out darkness, that the real danger is not the lamp itself, but the memory of the one who held it. Badrul Badur hesitates, but something in her, some part still angry at Aladdin for the lies, for the theft, for the ghosts he brought into her life, accepts. She places the fake lamp in her chambers, a silent betrayal, unintentional, but fatal, because the real lamp is in the vault. And tomorrow morning, Fatima will swap them. But something shifts, because that night, the genie speaks, not aloud, not in thunder, but in the dream. Aladdin sees a woman with no face, hears a voice that echoes twice, feels the weight of something pretending to be holy,
He wakes before dawn, sweating, and without waiting, rushes to the vault. The lamp is still there, untouched, undisturbed. But now, he knows. He returns to his chambers, finds Badrulbadur asleep, finds the fake lamp on her table, and beside it, a thread of crimson cloth, from the veil of a holy woman. He does not wait. He sends guards to Fatima's room, but the room is empty. The window is open, the mask is gone, and the body of the real Fatima, found in the river 2 days later, bound, weighted, smiling. The brother is not caught. He vanishes as easily as he appeared. But Aladdin understands now, this is not about reclaiming power. It's about breaking him, making him afraid to touch the lamp, making him question every whisper, every shadow, every prayer. So Aladdin changes. He removes the lamp from the vault, but he does not use it. He buries it deeper, surrounds it with fire, locks it behind metal forged by blacksmiths who do not ask questions. He tells no one where it is, not even her. Badrulbadur never asks about the dream, never speaks of the lamp again. She knows the cost of magic. Now they both do. The city moves on, but slower, quieter. A hush settles over the people. The stories grow darker. They speak of doppelgangers, of stolen faces, of priests who do not blink. And children are told, never follow a stranger in a veil. As for Aladdin, he rules, he listens, he grows older. But the spark is gone. The wonder that once filled him, at carpets that fly, at caves that roar, at spirits made of thunder, has dimmed. He no longer dreams. And in his silence, the people invent new stories. They say he no longer trusts the lamp, that he fears what he asked of it, that the genie has gone quiet, or worse, grown impatient. But in the dark, beneath layers of stone and spell, the lamp still waits, still warm, still listening, because magic never disappears. It just waits for someone foolish enough to ask for more. Once upon a time, there was a street rat, a boy with no name, no family, no worth, living hand to mouth in a kingdom of sand and splendor. He stole bread. He dodged guards. He dreamed of something bigger. And then, a lamp, a wish, a transformation. He became a prince. He won a princess. He set a genie free. And in the end, it wasn't gold or power or magic that made him special. It was honesty. It was love. It was being true to himself. That's the Aladdin we were given. The one who rode carpets through moonlight, who turned monkeys into heroes, who danced and joked and sang his way to happily ever after. But somewhere behind the curtain, hidden in ink and parchment and memory, there's another Aladdin, one who never sang, one who never kissed the girl in the starlight, one who didn't earn greatness, but took it. This Aladdin was not brave. He was lazy, aimless, disinterested in anything beyond a full stomach and a quiet bed. He lived in China, not Arabia. He had no monkey, no quick wit, no secret nobility in his bones. What he had was luck, and the misfortune of being chosen by a magician who needed someone expendable. In this story, Aladdin doesn't dream his way into greatness. He's dragged into it, used, trapped, lied to. And when he finally takes control, when the ring and the lamp fall into his hands, he doesn't become kind. He doesn't liberate the genie. He uses that power for personal gain, wealth, status, a palace built overnight. He kidnaps the princess, erases her arranged husband, wields magic like a blade. When threatened,
He doesn't outsmart his enemies. He kills them, and even that isn't the end, because the story keeps twisting. A second villain, a holy disguise, another murder. This tale doesn't resolve with a wedding or a wish for freedom. It ends with paranoia, with a man hiding the lamp from everyone, even himself. A man who fears what he once called a miracle. A man who, in gaining everything, lost the only thing that made him human: wonder. These are the two Aladdins, one shaped for children, the other shaped by history. One learns that truth will set you free. The other learns that power must be hidden or it will be taken from you. One releases the genie, the other imprisons it deeper. One becomes a legend, the other becomes a cautionary tale. Which is more real? The question is a trap, because neither is real. And yet both are true. One speaks to who we want to be, the other to who we might become.
So why did it change? Why did a story of sorcery, greed, and manipulation become a musical about love and truth? Why did the lazy son of a tailor become a clever prince in disguise? Why was the genie rewritten as a friend and not a prisoner? The answer is both simple and subtle. Because stories are not fixed. They're mirrors, and mirrors always reflect the ones holding them. The Aladdin we remember, the one with the songs and the soaring carpets, was made for a specific audience in a specific time. It was shaped by the values of 1990s America, where identity was the battleground and children were told to follow their dreams, be themselves, and believe that even a nobody could matter. Disney's Aladdin isn't a betrayal of the old tale. It's a translation into a language that children could understand, because the original, it was never meant for kids. It was a myth for adults, told in smoky rooms, whispered by merchants and travelers. A tale not about morality, but about consequence. What happens when you get what you want, before you know what it will cost? But as the story moved, from Diab to Galland, from Paris to Hollywood, those edges were sanded down. The characters were simplified, the violence removed, the ambiguity burned away, because that's what adaptation does. It doesn't preserve stories, it reanimates them, rebuilds them to serve the present. In the West, we often ask stories to make us feel good, to teach clear lessons, to wrap darkness in light, and call it growth. And there's nothing wrong with that. Comfort matters, especially for children. But in doing so, something gets lost. The chaos, the contradictions, the complexity that made the tale endure in the first place. In turning Aladdin into a tale of virtue, we buried the questions. What does it mean to be chosen by magic you didn't earn? What happens when your power is built on someone else's suffering? And what if the lamp isn't a gift, but a test? In rewriting the tale for children, we protected them from the discomfort, but we also shielded them from the truth. That not all power is earned, that not all heroes are good, that not all endings are happy. The story changed, because we changed. And every time Aladdin reappears, in a new film, a new book, a new retelling, he will change again. Not because we're erasing the past, but because stories, like genies, take the shape of the ones who summon them. 3. The final outro. The lamp is dark now. No glow, no smoke, no voice offering wishes, just metal, silent, still, waiting. And maybe that's all stories really are. Not answers, not morals, just lamps, waiting to be held by someone new, someone who sees the world a little differently, someone who needs something else: hope, power, freedom, escape. Maybe that's why we return to them, not for the truth they hold, but for the reflection they offer. The tale of Aladdin is not about magic,
Not really. It's about longing. Longing for something more than this life. More than hunger, or dust, or obscurity. And that longing is dangerous, because it opens the door to power. And power, as we've seen, always comes with a price. Even if the genie is smiling. So now, you carry both versions. The dream and the warning. You know what we were told, and you've seen what was hidden underneath. Not a prince, not a hero, just a boy and a lamp. Thank you for joining me. If this story whispered something to you, if it made you question what else might be buried beneath our legends, consider subscribing to keep the archive alive. Every myth has a shadow, and here we follow them. This was the dark history of Aladdin. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and see you next time